All right, so this is a piece of code that I want to refactor, and I want to create a more simple version of it. Simple meaning that I want this to be readable and understandable, because right now it's kind of messy. This code is coming from a very old project of mine that allows you to log in with your Pokemon Go username and password, and then we store these credentials and give you a public profile that shows you the Pokemon that you catched, and then you can share it and compete in a high score, stuff like that. The project is no longer online because we were using an unofficial API of Pokemon Go, which got removed shortly after. But, well, anyway, here's the code, and this piece of code is from a command that updates the user. So this is like a scheduled job that would run every couple minutes to fetch the user, the current user information from the API. So let's first see what it actually does. So we get all the players out of the database, then we loop over all these players. Then we have some kind of if condition that we check. So if the refresh token of the player is not null, then we use Google. So I think this refresh token is from Google. I haven't looked at this code for a couple of years, so we're pretty much doing guesswork here. And if the user does not have a refresh token, we are using the encrypted username and password that we have stored in the database. Okay, and then we create a command and pass it to a process. Then we run this command, we get some JSON back from the command output. Then we pull out the profile from this JSON. Then we get the data that we actually want to store. And then we do an update or create on the player model. We set the auth type to Google. Well, who knows why. And then we set the profile data. And then we have some cache invalidation, and we update statistics. All right, so first off, this code does not look really good. There's a lot of things going on. So let's start refactoring it step by step. So first I would like to remove this all by using each. By doing this, we are not loading all of the models into our memory. So all, if we, for example, have 1 million players in our database, we would get all of them in this big players collection and then loop over it. So instead of doing this, we just get rid of the for each and do a player each, which gives us a chunk of 1,000 players every time. And then once we've looped over those 1,000 players, we will fetch the next 1,000 and loop over those. So then I think we need the players variable, no, so we can remove it as well. So then we have this this strange if condition check. So if the player has a refresh token, then we will use Google. If it doesn't, we will use the credentials. So first off, let's move this to a separate command. So let's do a separate method. So in here we can say command equals to this get update player command. And then let's create this method. And here we do something like this. So then we would return the command. Now, at least we have moved this piece of code out of this handle method into its own separate method. This is still not perfect. So I don't like this if-else condition that we have here. So instead of asking if the refresh token is not null, I would like to move this out into our player model. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And then we add a method is authenticated with Google, and that returns a Boolean. And in here we just return this refresh token is not null. So when I have a refresh token, we are authenticated with Google. All right, so suddenly if you come back to this line of code in a year, it all makes sense again. Now we can do if player is authenticated with Google, then we get some token for this player. I'm not going to touch that code now. And we have our command. So to get rid of the else, we can just return the command string here. And then if the user is not authenticated with Google, we just return the other string in here. Okay. So then we have our get update player command ready. Okay. So then we can get rid of this temporary variable and move this to our process. We don't need the variable. Okay. Next, I think we can even move all of this into its own method. We don't actually need to get the output. Well, we do need the output down below here, but I think we still should have a method that deals with this stuff. So right now there is no error handling or anything involved. I'm not going to add it now, but it would be easier to add this to its own little method than doing this all in this each loop. So in here, then I could say output equals to this get Pokemon API response for a specific player. So let's add this method too. And in here, we would have the process, run it, and then we would return the JSON decoded string. I know it's not perfect, but it's still a lot better than what we had. So now we have output is equal to get Pokemon API response. Then we get the profile, and we then want to save the player. All right, so let's see what's going on in here. We have this profile data that we want to save. The first thing that I see is, instead of all these isSet commands, isSet calls, we can get rid of those and use this. Well, it is PHP 7. Whoop. All right, then the same for the team. This is also really weird. I have no idea why we set the team to -1. So a better thing would probably to move this to a constant so that we know why exactly do we have a -1 in here, because I have no idea why. Okay, and then we actually don't need this temporary variable in here as well, so we can just get rid of it and just paste it in our update or create method. So we have this. That's fine. And then we have this cache for get, and then we update some statistics. I think that's not really a good way to do it, because if the updating of the statistics for whatever reason fails, we have already removed whatever was in there from the cache. So I would remove this now, and then the update statistics method should handle the cache invalidation when everything is good and when the new things get written into the cache. So we have this as well. Okay, now this comment is pretty useless. We can get rid of it. And the update itself can be done its own method as well. It doesn't need to be in this each loop. So let's extract that as well. And then we just say this update player from Pokemon profile, or update player with Pokemon profile. Then we would have the player and the profile. Create the method. This should be protected. Okay. Then we have this, and then I think we need to return the player because we need it for our statistic update. So we can just return it in here. All right. and then like this. We just need the profile. All right, then we return the user or the player, and then we can use this player to update the statistics and perform this output the info. Okay. And well, the underlying code is still kind of messy. It doesn't have the error handling for the process. Things can go wrong in here, but now we have encapsulated our big messy code in small little functions, which makes it a lot easier to understand what's going on here. So if you look at this code now, you can see that, all right, what we're doing here is we got the API response, then we pull out the profile from the response, then we update the player with the Pokemon profile, fine, then we update the statistics. And that's perfectly readable and understandable, and everyone knows what this code means and what it does. And if you look at the underlying method, well, yeah, this one needs some more refactoring, but even something like the getUpdatePlayer command, it now is a lot clearer simply by renaming methods instead of using like the if check of the isNull inline in here. So I think that this refactoring is pretty good. It only took us a couple minutes, and like this, we have drastically simplified our command.